It's the face that really gets me. It is just this smug smile as she literally sits down. Also, I want to point something out. This is a legitimate page, as we all know, that came out a while back. And that right there is what Denji's experience. Fujimoto, man, like, what a fascinating writer. Like, seriously, I wish I could just have like 10 minutes to really just talk with Fujimoto, or at the very least be in his mind for 10 minutes just to see kind of how he cooks up all this, because legitimately he really does just make some of the most left turn like directions with his story when he is doing a completely different like part of storytelling like 5 or so chapters ago. I mean, think about this. 3 to 4 chapters ago, we had literally our characters stuck in like this endless unaging dimension. And then now we have literally Yoru and Denji going on a date. Like, that's exactly what this chapter is. Like, just straight up. This whole chapter of Chainsaw Man is just Denji and Yoru having a date. And obviously in the Chainsaw Man like way, but it's just like, this was not on my bingo card. Like, when I was like, you know, thinking of Chainsaw Man today, when I opened up this chapter, I did not expect to have a chapter dedicated to basically Denji and Yoru going out, having some fun, her getting obviously very cutesy and wanting to cook for him and, you know, sitting in his lap and all that. I'm like, yo, like, what? Like, what a wild turn of events. So, let's, this smile, man, it really does me in, man. Like, this smile is just so good with Denji's reaction here and all that, and like his like, huh? Like, it's good. But okay, so let's talk about this. So first off, one thing in particular I find very fascinating, despite obviously the cuteness of the chapter, I do want to talk about this line here that he talks about when it comes to friends. This is a very big detail that I think a lot of people might not catch, because it's very easy to miss upon reading. I'm not gonna lie. Like, upon first read, I slightly missed it until I reread it again. I was like, oh crap, you know, the way he said it actually meant he was talking about Asa and Yoru. So let's give some context here. Just last chapter, as we know, Denji found out the truth about Yoru, the War Devil, and Asa, and how they're two people sharing one body, one mind, basically. And he says, you're the only friend, but then he corrects himself and says, the only friends, with, you know, an S, I have left. And then you could just see, like, how Yoru reacts to this. Even though I'm going to turn you into a weapon, he's like, you know, I don't care, I'm having fun right now. And then the overall shocked expression from Yoru just showcases that she's obviously falling more in love with him, which results in her literally jumping into his lap. And yeah, we have this conclusion to the chapter. But I think that what is very significant about this little segment here is to showcase what Denji has lost, obviously, what he has gained now thanks to Yoru and Asa, and also how complicated their relationship actually is. I really like this chapter for that. I mean, I talked about this last week, that it was very obvious that the, everyone, like Yoshida for instance, they couldn't really blackmail Denji anymore. He has nothing. The only thing now he really has left is Yoru and Asa. Besides that, all he has left is really his life. So he has nothing really left to lose. They can't really blackmail him anymore. He doesn't really have family or friends, really. And so whatever they try to do, that's it. That, you know, they can't do anything to him. But I would like to point out that he's also in the exact same position now as he was at the beginning of Chainsaw Man Part 1 and the end of Chainsaw Man Part 1. This is the third time, technically, Denji has had pretty much nothing in his entire life, and let's explain how he's reacted to that and how it's changed him fundamentally as a person. The first time he had nothing was at the beginning of the story. All he had was Puchita. He lost Puchita, and he really didn't fully comprehend everything around him because he didn't have anything for a very long time. Ignorance is bliss, so to speak. It showcased that he was someone that just didn't know what he was missing in life. He didn't realize what he had or didn't have. He was just a very ignorant individual, so to speak. And obviously, as the story of Part 1 of Chainsaw Man progressed, you know, Makima gave him a lot. Gave him family and friends, basically, you know, something to do, choose, something to love, something to care about, something to fight for, so to speak. And obviously, as part 1 of Chainsaw Man continued, Denji continued to lose a lot of things to the point where he had nothing at the end of part 1, really. And it caused him to just fundamentally break down as an individual. Very different to how he was at the beginning of part 1. For instance, at the beginning of part 1, he didn't really fully understand how much he lost. At the end of part 1, he did understand how much he lost, and it almost broke him to the point where he was done. But he managed to get back up, he managed to fight, and obviously Makima was taken down, and he was able to push on forward as an individual. He was able to make another family, have a bunch of people that he could care about. He basically, that was my computer screen, not yours, don't worry, I saw that. I think it's Viz that glitches out. But, basically, he managed to make another family, he met Nayuta, you know, he got something once again. He managed to have something. He was whole again. Well, not completely fixed, obviously, he was still sad and upset that he lost Aki and power, but he definitely was stepping forward, moving on, so to speak, as a person. And this chapter showcases that he still thinks about those earlier days a lot. I mean, he mentions literally power within this chapter. Don't worry, I will talk about it. But, his overall acceptance and how he faces reality ever since the end of part 1 and beginning of part 1 has definitely changed a lot. And this is a very subtle thing that a lot of people, I think, don't really talk about, and that is where he's at right now mentally. Denji, obviously, he lost Nayuta. We saw his reaction. He went insane, was about to literally just basically kill everyone. We saw it. He was really upset for good reason, but he processed those feelings pretty quickly, all things considered. I mean, if we look at, like, how the ending of part 1 was, which showcases how he's able to deal with emotions, emotional stress as well, and he's also able to talk about it in a coherent way to people around him for they can even understand. I mean, he talks to War Devil, aka Yoru, in this chapter, and it's like, look, you're my only friend, my only friends, plural, and, you know, you're all I have left. I don't really have anything else. And you can see that Denji's obviously sad about this. It does make him pretty emotional to think about, but it's not stopping him from moving forward. And I think that this is a big thing, because he sees a light at the end of the tunnel, and one of those lights is that he realizes even if, let's say, Nayuta isn't the same person, aka the Control Devil, or the Blood Devil isn't power anymore, you know, they're still alive to some degree. He understands this, and that's why he brings up Blood Devil within this chapter, because he knows that they might not be the same person, but at the end of the day, he will be able to meet them in some shape or form again. And there is some essence of hope there that he could rekindle more friendship and happiness with them. I think it's a very big deal. It showcases what Denji is holding on to. He's no longer holding on to things of, like, physical things. He also holds on to, like, actual, like, things that you can't really touch, intangible things, so to speak, hopes and dreams. And I think that's interesting, just to see where his character is at. And that, yes, he might lose everything physically in the physical realm, but he still has things that he is attached to that can truly never be taken away at all, unless he wants them to be taken away, so to speak. So I think that I like this chapter for that. It gives a lot of, like, introspective into his character, and, like, how he's been tackling all these issues that's been happening for the last 10 to 20 or so, 30 chapters, actually, at this point, for Chainsaw Man. Now, with all of that being said, obviously, I do want to talk about something when it comes to Yoru and power and stuff like that, and Asa, and what this fundamentally means for the story. What's going to happen next? So we all know that one of the longest promises and objectives within Chainsaw Man is Denji to have a reunion with the Blood Devil, aka, you know, power. Obviously, it won't be the same power we know, but his objective is to be able to talk with, you know, her once again, be able to communicate, and maybe even spark a friendship. And he brings this up in this chapter, which showcases that, he's still thinking about her every so often. It's something that really holds a very special place in his heart, and like I said, even if he, you know, the people he loves dies, they still carry on within his very soul. That's what he's carrying with him. He wants to meet up and have fun with them once again, talk with them and all that, and this entire conversation could come off as, like, maybe warning signs, a red flag, and I think that that is something I definitely want to talk about. Obviously, this chapter is a date. It's between Yoru and Denji, okay? And it's clear at this point, anyone that denies it is just, let's be honest, you're I don't know if we're reading the same series, but Yoru obviously and Asa does love Denji, okay? They might not be good at showing it, or they send a lot of good signals, I mean, really strong signals, but they don't know how to express it properly. Denji obviously has some feelings for her. It's very obvious. At this point, I think that anyone denying that is, I don't really know what to say. So I'm not even going to get into that topic. All I'm saying is that the two characters obviously have some feelings. That is budding. They are growing. Okay? And no, it's not what's down there that's growing. It just, the feelings are mutually growing. You can feel it. And I think that in general, having power mentioned within this chapter is pretty scary as a red flag, because obviously Yoru clearly doesn't know how to process emotions. She doesn't know how to process probably love or anything. I mean, we know this, okay? This has been a big, like, development story for Yoru as a character, that emotions is brand new, and they're learning a lot thanks to Asa, sharing the same body as Asa. What comes with love? Well, love, compassion, anger, sadness, jealousy. Obviously, Nayuta and Power, or Blood Devil, technically, and Control Devil are, canonically, as we've seen so far, female characters. What do you think is going to happen to a character that obviously loves Denji, clearly, and sees that it's another female entering into the group? Jealousy. Straight up. Yeah, and I feel like Fujimoto is 100% setting up for something like that. It is 100% about to happen in some shape or form. Some jealousy. I can even see, theoretically, some jealousy between Asa and Yoru. That would be wild, but it definitely could be a thing, because that is something that still needs to be tackled, is Asa right now, which has still been AWOL for the past few chapters. I'll have to talk about it in a second, but basically, love is war. It is a common thing, it's a common phrase I think everybody's heard at least once in their life. And what is war? Love. Love is war, etc. It is a common phrase. And I think that, in this case, fighting for someone you love is the greatest form of war. So I think that, in this case, that's what's being set up here as well. So yeah, I mean, I like the progression we've gotten with Yoru, her trying to process her feelings and stuff, and not really knowing what to do. I would not be really surprised at this point if we actually get a full-blown, Bow Chicka Bow Wow chapter, in a few chapters. I would not be surprised. If nothing really screwed up happens, that's gonna happen. Fujimoto is 100% setting it up to happen in the next, 5 chapters. I could see it. 100%. I mean, with the whole handy thing mentioned in last chapter to this, literally, it's leading to it. It is. 100%. Obviously, things can happen, but it's definitely leading to it. Which, let's segue into it. So, at this point in time, with the story of Chainsaw Man, I am very mixed on where the story is going. Obviously, we know the finale of at least part 2, if we don't get a part 3, is the Death Devil. Okay, one of the last 4 of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Okay, we know this. One of the sisters. And she's mentioned once again in this chapter. And it's clear Fujimoto is setting up for Death Devil to make an appearance very soon. And my impression, obviously, is that Death Devil is being set up as the end game. The finale, so to speak, obviously. And it might be the finale of the story. Maybe it's the finale of just part 2. Who knows? All I know is that, the Death Devil is about to make an appearance, and I feel like Fujimoto is setting up for the conclusion of part 2. I feel like we are getting close to that the main threat and entity is about to appear, and we're going to start to see things really ramping up very soon and going very quickly, because, I mean, when you think about the conclusion of part 1 of Chainsaw Man, it was a very similar manner. The ending really just started to ramp up very quickly, and it ended. So, I could see this happening for part 2. It looks like we're going that direction. And now, speaking of which, we gotta talk about Asa. Asa, obviously, is, she's been, AWOL for a while. I think one of the big reasons for that, obviously, which was indicated, trying to contemplate the amount of death, human life, that was lost, thanks to, the previous chapters. Makes sense. It's very clear that, Yoru is, protecting maybe Asa to a degree. I don't know, but Asa is shutting herself off and not really wanting to speak. We have not seen Yoru and Asa's perspective in a while. We've only really been seeing from Denji's perspective, or actually like a third-party perspective. We haven't really seen Inner Psyche in a while. It's been a good while. So I am curious to see what Yoru or Asa is thinking while all this is happening. I mean, we'll have to see. But I do think that if there's anything that's going to happen in these are going to be chapters that could potentially really cause some crazy stuff to happen, would maybe be Asa. If she comes back to the surface, I feel like something's going to happen between the two characters, and it's going to lead to something really bad. One or the other. Besides that, I think that overall, very sweet and cute chapter of Chainsaw Man. I love what's been going on here. I honestly am very excited to see what Fujimoto cooks up. Like, I am actually curious to see what he does for this relationship between these two characters. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments below. I'm legitimately curious, but I love you guys. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.